Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Defiance, watching the stars through the cracked viewport. His ship was dying. The hull had holes in it from the last battle. The lights flickered on and off. The air smelled like burned metal and fear. Behind him, his crew worked at their stations. Their faces were tired and dirty. Some had bandages on their arms and heads. They had been running for 3 months now. 3 months since the aliens came and destroyed everything. Lieutenant Commander Lisa Grant walked up to him. Her uniform was torn and stained with blood. It's not her blood, but the blood of friends who had died in the last fight. "Captain, we just lost another engine," she said quietly. "Chief Martinez says we can keep flying for maybe 2 more days?" Morrison nodded. He had expected this. The Defiance was the last human warship in space. Every other ship was gone. Every colony was burned. Every space station was nothing but floating metal and dead bodies. The aliens called themselves the Galactic Empire. They were led by a race called the Vorthons. The Vorthons looked like giant lizards that walked on 2 legs. They had sharp teeth and cold yellow eyes. They did not talk to humans. They just killed them. Morrison remembered the day it all started. He had been drinking coffee in his cabin when the alarms went off. The communications officer had screamed about alien ships appearing near the outer colonies. Big ships. Ships the size of cities. The humans had tried to fight. They had good ships and brave crews, but the aliens had better weapons. Much better weapons. Human ships exploded like firecrackers against the alien fleet. One by one, the colonies fell. New Boston was first. Then came Green Valley and Port Jefferson. The aliens did not take prisoners. They did not want to talk. They just wanted humans to die. "Sir," said Ensign Kyle Davis from the communications station. "I'm picking up a signal." Morrison turned around. "From who?" "It's coming from Earth," Davis said. His voice was shaking. "It's a distress call." The bridge went quiet. Everyone stopped working and looked at Davis. Earth was home. Earth had 8 billion people. Earth was supposed to be safe behind its defense fleet. "Put it on speaker," Morrison said. Static filled the air. Then a voice came through, broken and scared. "This is Admiral Hayes on Earth Defense Station 1. The aliens are here. They have over 200 ships. Our fleet, our fleet is gone. The cities are burning. We need help. Anyone who can hear this, please help us." The message cut off. The bridge was silent except for the sound of broken machines. Humming and sparking, Dr. Amy Foster, the ship's doctor, spoke first. "How many people are on Earth?" 8 billion, Morrison said. "How many are on our ship?" 800. Foster nodded. "So we're going to try to save 8 billion people with 800. Chief Engineer Tony Martinez came onto the bridge. His hands were black with oil and his shirt was full of holes from sparks. "Captain, I heard the message." "What?" "The engines are barely working. The weapons are almost out of power. The hull has more holes than a piece of cheese." Morrison looked at each of his officers. These people had followed him for 5 years. They had trusted him through every battle. They had never questioned his orders, even when those orders seemed crazy. "I know what you're all thinking," Morrison said. "You're thinking this is suicide. You're thinking we can't fight 200 alien ships with 1 broken human ship." Nobody spoke, but Morrison could see the answer in their eyes. They were right. It was suicide. It's the way I see it, Morrison continued. "We have 2 choices. We can find some empty planet and hide. Maybe we live for a few more months before they find us, or we can go to Earth and fight." Captain Grant said carefully, "What can we do against 200 ships?" Morrison smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "I don't know yet. This much, every human on Earth is going to die if we don't try. Every child, every mother, every father, every one." He walked to the center of the bridge. "I'm not ordering anyone to come with me. Anyone who wants to leave can take a shuttle and find somewhere to hide. I won't think less of you." Morrison waited. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Finally, Grant stepped forward. "Where you go, we go, Captain." Martinez nodded. "This old ship has one more fight in her." Dr. Foster crossed her arms. "Someone has to patch you all up when you do something stupid." Ensign Davis, the youngest person on the bridge, stood up straighter. Earth is my home too, sir. Morrison felt something warm. In his chest? Pride, maybe? Or hope? All right then. Davis, set course for Earth. Maximum speed. Yes, sir, Davis said, his fingers flying over his controls. Grant, I want every weapon we have checked and ready. Martinez, I need you to squeeze every bit of power you can from those engines. Foster, make sure our people are ready for whatever comes next. As his crew rushed to follow his orders, Morrison looked out at the stars again. Somewhere out there was Earth. Somewhere out there were 8 billion people waiting to die. The U.S.'s Defiance turned toward home. Her engines coughed and sputtered, but they kept running. Her hull was cracked and bleeding air, but she held together. She was the last hope for humanity, and she was flying into hell. Morrison touched the star charts on his screen. 3 days. To Earth, if the engines held out. 3 days to figure out how to destroy an entire alien fleet with one dying ship. He had no plan. He had no idea how to win. But he was going anyway, because sometimes that's all a person can do. The USS Defiance hid inside a field of floating rocks. The asteroids were big as houses, spinning slowly in the darkness. Captain Morrison had ordered the ship to power down almost everything. They were invisible now, but they were also helpless. Morrison sat in the meeting room with his top officers. The table was covered with pictures and data about the alien fleet. Dr. Foster had been studying the enemy for weeks, trying to understand how they worked. Show them what you found, Morrison said to the doctor. Foster stood up and pointed to a drawing on the wall. It showed the alien ships in a pattern, like a flower with many petals. The Vorthons don't fight like we do. They don't think like we do either. She picked up a piece of alien technology they had found floating in space after a battle. It was smooth and black with strange symbols on it. This is from one of their smaller ships. I've been taking it apart for 2 months. Chief Martinez leaned forward. What did you find? The aliens use something called quantum entanglement to control their ships, Foster said. It's like having all their ships connected by invisible strings. One ship gives orders, and all the other ships follow instantly. Lieutenant Grant frowned. Which ship gives the orders? Foster smiled. That's the important part. There's one ship in the center of their fleet. It's called the Nexus ship. Controls everything. If we destroy that ship, the whole fleet falls apart. Morrison studied the pictures of the alien fleet. 200 ships arranged in a perfect circle around Earth. In the very center was one ship that looked just like all the others. We know which one is the Nexus ship, Morrison asked. I can scan for the quantum signals, Foster said. But we have to get close. Very close. Martinez shook his head. Captain, that's impossible. The Nexus ship is in the center. We'd have to fly through 100 alien ships to reach it. And their shields, Grant added. Foster, how strong are the shields on the Nexus ship? Foster looked uncomfortable. Strong. Very strong. It would take 50 human ships firing at the same time to break through. The room went quiet. They had one ship, one broken ship with barely working weapons. Ensign Davis spoke up from the corner. What if we don't try to break the shields? Everyone looked at him. He was young, maybe 22 years old. His hands were shaking a little. Explain, Morrison said. Davis stood up and walked to the table. What if we get inside the shields instead of trying to break them? Do that? Grant asked. We crash into them, Davis said simply. Martinez laughed, but it wasn't a happy laugh. Kid, that's suicide. We're already dead, Davis said. Look at our ship. Look at our weapons. We can't win a normal fight. Morrison was quiet for a long moment.
Ow.
Then he stood up and walked around the table. Keep talking, Davis. The fusion reactors, Davis said, getting excited. What if we overload them? Turn the whole ship into a bomb? Martinez's eyes went wide. You want to blow up our own ship? Think about it, Davis said. We ram into the Nexus ship. We explode. The quantum network goes down. All their ships lose control. Foster was nodding slowly. It could work. Without the Nexus ship, their fleet can't coordinate. They might even start shooting each other. But we'd all die. Grant said quietly. Morrison sat back down. Maybe not all of us. He looked at each of his officers. We have escape pods, lifeboats. We could evacuate most of the crew before we make the final run. Martinez was thinking hard. They could rig the reactors to overload. But someone would have to stay behind to control the explosion. Make sure it happens at the right time. I'll stay, Morrison said immediately. No, sir, Grant said. You're needed to fly the ship. I'll stay. Need to stay too, Martinez said. The reactors are tricky. It's one wrong move and they blow up too early. Foster crossed her arms. If we're doing this, we need to do it right. I should stay and help with the timing. Morrison looked around the table. His friends were volunteering to die. This is insane. Yes, sir, Grant said with a small smile. But it's the good kind of insane. Davis cleared his throat. There's something else. I've been working on hacking their communication system. If I can get inside their network, I can make things even more confusing for them. Can you do it? Morrison asked. I think so. Their code is different from ours, but code is code. I just need to get close enough to their ships to connect.
Morrison
Stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see the asteroids floating in space. Each rock was like a tiny planet, cold and dead, just like Earth would be if they failed. All right, he said finally. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to fly to Earth. We're going to sneak past their outer ships. We're going to find the Nexus ship. And we're going to ram it so hard that the explosion destroys their whole network. He turned back to his officers. But first, we give everyone a choice. Anyone who wants to leave can take an escape pod now. They can try to find somewhere safe. To hide? What about the people who stay? Foster asked. Morrison's face was grim. The people who stay are going to save 8 billion lives, and they're probably going to die doing it. Grant stood up. When do we leave? 6 hours, Morrison said. That gives us time to prepare. Martinez, I need you to work on the reactors. Foster, keep studying their technology. Maybe you can find us another advantage. Davis, see if you can break into their communications before we get there. As his officers left the room, Morrison stayed behind. He looked at the pictures of the alien fleet again. 200 ships, each one bigger than his own. Each one with enough firepower to destroy a city. But they had one weakness. One ship that controlled all the others. Ship that they could reach if they were willing to pay the price. Morrison thought about the 800 people on his ship. Good people. Brave people. People who trusted him to keep them alive. Now he was going to ask them to die. He picked up the communication device. All hands, this is the captain. Report to the main cargo bay in 1 hour. I have something important to tell you. The USS Defiance waited in the shadow of the asteroids. In 6 hours, she would begin her final journey. Her crew would either save humanity or die trying. Maybe both. The USS Defiance moved through space like a ghost. Captain Morrison had turned off almost every light and every machine. The ship was cold and dark. Only the most important systems were still running. Morrison stood on the bridge, looking at the screen in front of him. There it was. Earth. His home. The blue and green planet where he had been born, where he had learned to walk and talk and dream, but Earth was not beautiful anymore. Red fires burned on the surface where cities used to be. Dark smoke covered whole continents. The alien fleet surrounded the planet like hungry wolves around a dying deer. 200 ships, Grant whispered beside him. Just like the reports, said Morris and counted them on the screen. The alien ships were huge, each one the size of a mountain. They floated in a perfect circle around Earth, their weapons pointed down at the surface. Red beams of light shot from their guns, burning everything they touched. How many people are still alive down there? Dr. Foster asked. Morrison shook his head. I don't know. Maybe millions. Maybe hundreds. Every minute we wait, more people die. Chief Martinez came onto the bridge. His face was covered with sweat and oil. Captain, the stealth device is working. The aliens can't see us yet, but it won't last forever. Maybe 2 hours before it breaks down. The stealth device was Dr. Foster's greatest achievement. Built it from alien technology they had found floating in space. It made their ship invisible to alien sensors, but it used too much power. Soon, it would burn out. Davis Morrison said to the young communications officer, "Any luck with their network?" Davis was bent over his computer, his fingers moving fast over the buttons. "I'm getting closer, sir. Their code is really complicated, but I think I can break it. I just need more time." Morrison walked to the center of the bridge. Through the windows, he could see the alien ships more clearly now. They were so big and so many. "How could one small human ship fight all of them, sir?" Grant said quietly. "Look at this." She pointed to a section of the alien fleet. 6 ships had broken away from the main group. They were flying toward a space station that orbited Earth. The station was human-built, with spinning wheels and solar panels. "That's Research Station Alpha," Foster said. "There are 3,000 scientists on that station." They watched as the alien ships surrounded the station. Red beams shot out, cutting through the metal walls like knives through paper. The station exploded in a ball of fire and debris. 3,000 people died in seconds. Morrison's hands became fists. "How long until we reach the center of their formation?" 30 minutes, Davis said. "But Captain, I have bad news. I've been listening to their communications. They know we're here." Everyone on the bridge froze. "What do you mean?" Morrison asked. "They can't see us with their sensors," Davis explained. "But they know something is wrong. Their commander is getting suspicious. He's ordering some ships to start searching." Morrison thought fast. If the aliens found them before they reached the Nexus ship, the plan would fail. Earth would burn, and humanity would die. "We need a distraction," he said. "Something to keep them busy while we get to the center." Grant stepped forward. "Captain, I have an idea. What if we launch our fighters?" Morrison looked at her. The Defiance had 6 small fighter ships in her cargo bay. They were fast and hard to hit, but they couldn't hurt the big alien ships. "Good would that do?" Martinez asked. "The fighters don't have to win," Grant said. "They just have to be annoying. If they attack the edge of the alien formation, the aliens will chase them. That gives us a clear path to the center." Morrison understood. "A suicide mission." "Yes, sir. But it might save Earth." Morrison was quiet for a moment. He was asking his people to die. First the crew who would stay on the ship for the final explosion. Now the fighter pilots who would never come home, who would fly the fighters, he asked. "I will," Grant said immediately. "And I know 5 other pilots who will volunteer. Lisa, no. I need you here. Sir, with respect, you need those fighters more than you need me. This is the only way." Morrison looked around the bridge. His crew was watching him, waiting for his decision. They trusted him to make the right choice, even when there was no right choice. "All right," he said finally. "But you don't attack until we're close to the center. And Lisa, ... come back alive." Grant smiled. "I'll try, sir." As Grant left to prepare the fighters, Morrison turned back to the screen. The alien fleet was getting closer. Could see the details on their ships now. Strange symbols and shapes that hurt his eyes to look at. "Davis, any progress on their communications?" "Yes, sir. No, I'm inside their network now. I can hear their commander talking to his ships." "What's he saying?" Davis listened for a moment, then his face went pale. "He's giving orders to destroy Earth. Completely. Not just the cities. The whole planet. He wants to crack it open like an egg." Foster gasped. "That's not possible." "Is it with their weapons?" Yes, Davis said. "They have something called planet killer bombs. If they use them, Earth will become nothing but floating rocks." Morrison felt ice in his stomach. "How long before they use these bombs?" 1 hour, Davis said. Maybe less. Morrison grabbed the communication device. "All hands, this is the captain. We are beginning our attack run now. All non-essential personnel, report to the escape pods immediately. This is not a drill." He turned to his remaining crew. "Martinez, get to the engine room. Start preparing the reactors for overload. Foster, I need you to help him. Davis, keep working on their communications. I want to know everything they're planning." "What about you, sir?" Davis asked. Morrison sat down in the captain's chair. "I'm going to fly us into the middle of 200 alien ships. Somehow, we're going to save the world." The USS Defiance moved closer to the alien fleet. Her fighter ships prepared to launch. Her reactors began to build up power for the final explosion. Her crew said goodbye to each other, knowing they would never meet again. Behind them, Earth burned. Ahead of them, the enemy waited. And somewhere in between, 800 humans prepared to prove that sometimes the smallest force can change everything. Lieutenant Commander Lisa Grant sat in her fighter ship, waiting for the signal. Behind her were 5 more fighters, each one piloted by someone who knew they were about to die. The fighter bay doors were open, showing the darkness of space and the massive alien fleet ahead. "Fighter Squadron, this is Grant," she said into her radio. "Remember the plan? Hit the outer ships fast and hard. Make them chase you. Draw them away from the center." "Copy that, Commander," came the reply from pilot Jake Cooper. "See you on the other side." Grant smiled sadly. There would be no other side for them. But maybe there would be for Earth. On the bridge of the USS Defiance, Captain Morrison watched the alien fleet grow larger on his screen. They were close now. So close, he could see the weapons on the enemy ships turning to track their movement. "Davis report," Morrison said. Ensign Davis was sweating over his computer. "I'm deep in their network now, sir. I can hear everything. Their commander is Admiral Vexfer. He's ordering his ships to prepare the planet killer bombs." "How much time do we have? 30 minutes? Maybe less?" Morrison nodded. "Grant, you are cleared to launch." "Good luck." "Thank you, sir." Fighters away. 6 small human ships shot out of the Defiance like angry hornets. They were tiny compared to the alien vessels, but they were fast. Very fast. Grant led her squadron toward the edge of the alien formation. The enemy ships were so big that her fighter looked like a mouse next to an elephant. A mice could bite. "Target their weapon arrays," Grant ordered. "We can't destroy them, but we can make them angry." The human fighters opened fire. Their small guns shot streams of bright energy at the alien ships. The beams bounced off the alien shields like raindrops, but they got attention. Alarms started going off on the alien ships. Red lights flashed. The big ships began to turn, trying to aim their massive guns at the tiny fighters. "It's working," Grant said. "They're taking the bait." Admiral Vexfer sat on the bridge of his command ship, watching the human fighters attack. His fleet. He was 8 feet tall, with gray scales and yellow eyes. His long tail moved back and forth, showing his anger. "What are those insects doing?" he hissed to his officers. "They appear to be attacking our outer ships," Admiral said, his second in command. "With what? Those tiny ships cannot even scratch our shields. Perhaps it is a distraction, Admiral." Vexfer's eyes narrowed. A distraction from what? He turned to his sensor officer. "Are there any other human ships nearby?" "No, Admiral. These 6 fighters are all we detect." But Vexfer was not convinced. He had been fighting humans for months. They were weak and stupid, but sometimes they were also clever, and desperate creatures could be dangerous. "Send 60 ships to destroy those fighters," he ordered, "but keep the rest of the fleet in formation. And continue charging the planet killer bombs." Meanwhile, Grant's fighters were dancing through space, dodging the massive energy beams from the alien ships. 2 fighters had already been hit. Cooper's ship was spinning out of control, his left wing torn off. Peterson's fighter was nothing but floating debris. "Stay close to the big ships," Grant shouted into her radio. "Use them as cover." She dove her fighter between 2 alien vessels, forcing them to stop shooting or risk hitting each other. It was a dangerous game, but it was working. More and more alien ships were leaving their positions to chase the fighters. On the Defiance, Morrison could see the gap opening in the alien formation. "Now's our chance." Full speed toward the center. Chief Martinez's voice came over the radio. "From the engine room? Captain, the reactors are ready. When you give the word, we can overload them. But once I start the process, we have maybe 5 minutes before the whole ship explodes." "Understood, Dr. Foster. Are you ready?" Foster's voice was calm despite the situation. "I'm with Martinez. We've identified the Nexus ship. It's the big one in the very center, with the extra communication arrays on top." Morrison could see it now. The Nexus ship was larger than the others, with strange metal spikes reaching out in all directions. Those spikes were the quantum transmitters that controlled the entire fleet. Davis, what's happening in their network? They're confused, sir. Admiral Vexfer is angry about the fighters. He's sending more ships to chase them. But he's also getting suspicious. He knows something is wrong. Morrison gripped his chair as the Defiance flew deeper into the alien formation. Enemy ships passed by on all sides, their holes so close he could have reached out and touched them. But the stealth device was still working. They were invisible. Then, disaster struck. Captain Davis shouted. The stealth device just failed. They can see us now. Immediately, every alien ship in range turned toward the Defiance. Weapon systems came online. Targeting computers locked onto the human ship. All ships, destroy the human vessel. Admiral Vexfer's voice boomed across the alien communication network. The sky filled with red energy beams. The Defiance's shields flared as enemy fire hit them from all directions. The ship shook like it was in an earthquake. Shields down to 60%, Davis reported. Keep flying toward the center, Morrison ordered. We're committed now. The Defiance pushed forward through the storm of enemy fire. Her hull was glowing from the heat of the energy beams hitting her. Sparks flew from control panels on the bridge. The lights flickered. Shields down to 30%, Davis said. Captain Martinez's voice came over the radio. If we're going to do this, it has to be now. The ship won't last much longer. Morrison could see the Nexus ship directly ahead. It was huge, with weapons that could vaporize his ship in seconds. But those weapons were turning to face him. Grant, what's your status? Morrison asked. Grant's voice was weak. Her fighter had been hit, and she was bleeding. Still drawing them off, sir. But I don't think we can last much longer. You've done? Enough, Lisa. All of you have. Morrison took a deep breath. This was it. The moment that would decide whether humanity lived or died. Martinez Foster, he said. Begin the overload sequence. Yes, sir, came their voices together. Deep in the engine room, the fusion reactors began to build up more and more power. Warning lights flashed red. Computer screens showed danger signals. The USS Defiance flew toward the Nexus ship like a bullet aimed at the heart of the alien fleet. Enemy fire tore holes in her hull, but she kept flying. Her crew was dying, but her mission continued in space. Around them, the battle raged on. Human fighters fought against impossible odds. The alien fleet prepared to destroy Earth forever, and in 5 minutes, everything was going to explode. The USS Defiance was dying. Red energy beams cut through her hull like knives through paper. Half of her crew was already dead, so the other half was getting ready to die. Captain Morrison held onto his chair as the ship shook from another hit. Sparks flew from broken computers. The air smelled like smoke and burning metal. Through the cracked windows, he could see the Nexus ship getting closer. Shields are gone, Ensign Davis shouted over the noise. Hull is breaking apart. How long until we reach the Nexus ship? Morrison asked. 2 minutes, sir. Martinez Foster, report. Chief Martinez's voice came over the radio from the engine room. It was hard to hear because of the explosions around him. The reactors are building up power, Captain. Thought 3 more minutes until we can trigger the explosion? We don't have 3 minutes, Morrison said. We need to get closer. Dr. Foster's voice joined Martinez's. Captain, we can't rush this. If we trigger the explosion too early, it won't be strong enough to destroy the Nexus ship. Morrison watched the Nexus ship grow larger on his screen. It was huge, covered with strange metal spikes that reached out like the arms of a spider. Those spikes controlled every ship in the alien fleet. Sir Davis said suddenly, I'm picking up a transmission from Admiral Vexfer. He's ordering all ships to focus fire on us. Morrison looked around at his bridge crew. These people had followed him into hell. Now they were all going to burn together. All hands abandon. Ship, Morrison said into the communication system. Everyone to the escape pods. That's an order, Captain Davis said. Not leaving. Davis, get to an escape pod now. No, sir. Someone needs to keep hacking their network. I can make their ships even more confused when the Nexus goes down. Morrison wanted to argue, but there was no time. The alien fleet was throwing everything. They had it, the Defiance. The ship was falling apart around them. Sir Grant's voice came over the radio. Her fighter was still out there, still fighting. My ship is destroyed, but I'm alive. I'm floating in an escape pod near the alien fleet. Lisa, get away from here. When this ship explodes, you'll be caught in the blast. I'm not going anywhere. Captain, I want to see this. Morrison smiled despite everything. Even now, even facing death, his crew was brave. The Nexus ship fired its main weapon. A beam of pure energy, thick as a building, shot toward the Defiance. Morrison threw the ship to the left just in time. The beam missed by inches, but the heat from it melted part of the hull. 1 minute to target, Davis said. Martinez, Foster, get out of there, Morrison ordered. Negative, Captain, Martinez replied. Someone has to stay and control the explosion. If the timing is wrong, this was all for nothing. Same here, Foster added. I need to make sure the quantum disruption spreads through their entire network. Morrison felt tears in his eyes. His friends were choosing to die to save Earth. There was nothing he could say to change their minds. And he knew it. The Defiance flew straight at the Nexus ship. Both vessels were firing at each other now. The alien ship was much bigger, much stronger, but the human ship was not trying to win a fight. It was trying to get close enough to explode. 30 seconds, Davis said. Admiral Vexfer watched the human ship approach his Nexus vessel. He could not understand what they were trying to do. Their ship was tiny. Their weapons were weak. What did they hope to accomplish? All ships, destroy that vessel immediately, he ordered. But it was too late. The human ship was too close now. His own ships could not fire without hitting the Nexus ship. Admiral, his officer said, the human ship is not trying to escape. It's flying directly at us. Vexfor's yellow eyes went wide. They mean to ram us. But Admiral, that would be suicide, as Vexfor said slowly. It would be. For the first time, the alien commander felt something he had never felt before. When fighting humans, he felt afraid. On the Defiance, Morrison could see individual windows on the Nexus ship. He could see alien faces looking out at him, their yellow eyes full of fear. 10 seconds, Davis said. Martinez, Foster, triggered the explosion, Morrison. Ordered. Triggering now, Martinez said. It's been an honor serving with you, Captain. The honor was mine, Morrison replied. The USS Defiance slammed into the shields of the Nexus ship. The shields held for a moment, crackling with energy. Then the human ship punched through them like a bullet through glass, deep inside the Defiance. The fusion reactors reached critical mass. Martinez and Foster held hands as they watched the power levels climb higher and higher. They were not afraid. They were proud. For Earth, Foster replied. For humanity, Martinez replied. The explosion was brighter than a star. The USS Defiance and the Nexus ship vanished in a ball of white light. The blast wave spread out in all directions, faster than thought, faster than fear. The quantum spikes on the Nexus ship cracked and broke. The network that connected the alien fleet died instantly. 200 ships suddenly found themselves alone, cut off from their commander, cut off from each other. Without the Nexus ship to guide them, the alien computers went crazy. Ships that had been allies suddenly looked like enemies. Targeting systems locked onto the nearest vessels. Weapons fired automatically. What is happening? Vexfor shouted as his command ship shook from friendly fire. But there was no one to answer him. His communication officer was dead. His ship was burning, and all around him, the mighty Galactic Empire fleet was destroying itself. Admiral Vexfor's ship exploded as 3 of his own vessels hit it with planet-killer weapons. He died never understanding how a single human ship had defeated his entire fleet in her escape pod. Grant watched the alien ships tear each other apart. Explosions lit up space like fireworks. Ships the size of cities crashed into each other and broke apart. Davis, are you seeing this? She said into her radio. Davis's. The voice was weak but happy. Yes, ma'am, Captain Morrison did it. He actually did it. On Earth, people looked up at the sky and saw the alien fleet destroying itself. The bombardment stopped. The planet-killer bombs never fired. Children who had been hiding in caves came. Out to see the sun again? 8 billion people were alive because 800 had been willing to die. The war was over. Humanity had won. In the wreckage of 2 fleets, the legend of the USS Defiance was born. Years later, when Earth had rebuilt and humans traveled to the stars again, every ship carried the same motto painted on its hull: defiance in the face of impossibility. Captain Jake Morrison had kept his promise. Against all odds, with no hope of victory, he had saved the world. The cost had been everything, but it had been worth it. The smallest force had changed everything. Because sometimes, courage is stronger than weapons, and sometimes sacrifice is the greatest victory of all.